grind, so that seems worth it, right? Don't need that pressure from you. No need to put that on me. Just need some fresh air to breathe. Feels like a movie. Everybody's watching. All eyes on me. Easy to see if I'm winning or losing when all eyes on me. Feels like a movie. Everybody's watching. All eyes on me. Easy to see if I'm winning or losing when all eyes on me. Don't need that pressure from you. No need to put that on me. Just need some fresh air to breathe. All eyes on me.
Baby, now I'm saying so long. You've been catching feelings.
Or the screen share quality.
I can't. The other team is KSU. Hey guys, sorry if you thought that we were coming in about 10 seconds earlier than we did, but we're not. In fact, it is us back here at CSL. You know what it is, it's the Winter Invitational, and unfortunately, Corvus still out fighting those evil, bad Martians. I'm pretty sure they went ack, and kind of abducted him, but he's probably going to be back here in a couple weeks, coming through a portal from hell or something. It's just the typical Doom experience, right? He's
What are
just
you
going to be here.
talking about, Zeta?
I don't... Anyway, I have a good person here, Slal Meowing Cat. You might know him from the last cast we did on Tuesday, but now we have another cast, and this one, though, has already been played. So we don't know the outcome, but it is a recording, so it's not on the current patch of Chaos, but it is UCLA versus Kennesaw State, two teams that have we've seen a couple times, right? We've seen Kennesaw State particularly quite a few times on the CSL broadcast. They've been quite consistent, but we'll take a look at UCLA's roster and their outcomes so far this season first. They only dropped one game to UCD Aggie Blue, one set, and then 2 games to overall, one in the round of 64 and one to CPP Bronco 2. Now, keep in mind, Kennesaw State are not pushovers, right? Even though UCLA is a very strong team, this is round of 32. Teams are starting to get quite good, quite clean, and when we can look at the Kennesaw State side, we see exactly why that is the case, right? KSU have dropped one game to Cincinnati. They did drop a set, but that's it, right? They're the exact same place in the standings. KSU has been delivering time and time again, consistent play, good macro. They've had it all. And now they're going to have to prove that they got what it takes to stay in the tournament. Round of 32, remember, single elimination in the Winter Invitational. So if they lose here, they are going to go home. It's a best of 3, and we're about to get into pick and ban for our first game.
Yeah, and running through it, there are some champions that are still much better on the previous patch that we will be on. So stuff like the Rakan isn't useless and would be a very powerful pick in the support position. Possibly the last time we're going to be able to see it for a while, but it is a good pick depending on the composition that they do have at hand. So we'll have to see if something like that comes out, or a different champion that was changed. Irelia also notably changed into the next patch. And so on this patch, the previous patch, she's still going to be that powerhouse that is good into a very, into most matchups, as well as into those shielding tanks. The Scion is a very, doable matchup for her, which will be a bit harder now because no more shield destroying for her. But just ban so far looking very kind of simple with just power picks.
Yeah, the power picks. I mean, Shaco's not a power pick.
Power
but it is
by
a
power,
target.
I mean power of the players. It
Yes,
is
power of the
mostly
players.
just comfort picks, is what I meant.
Power
to
of
say.
the players, but
not sponsored.
Not sponsored TM. Anyways, we got the Galio removed as well. They're not going to take any chances on that, and so that means that the top lane most likely is going to be, contested. With all these bans going towards it, Havoc doesn't want to face any of the really strong tops. The Urgot on this previous patch is still very strong, right? He has not been nerfed yet. He's not been heavily targeted. I know there is even more PvE patches coming up. We'll see if those actually matter. But for now, at least, definitely not an issue.
Yeah. And so this Urgot pick, a lot of power picks actually making it through. As I mentioned before, the kind of holy trinity of double flex pick top lane and mid lane picks. You have the Irelia, the Aatrox, and the Urgot. All three of those champions can be flexed in either mid lane or top lane. Sometimes even bot lane. You see the Irelia making an appearance down there every now and then. I don't think we're going to be seeing her this game. But the Lucian also making it through is very surprising. Throughout Amateur recently, Lucian has just been permanently banned out because he is just so lane dominant. However, with all of these kind of target bans rather than meta bans, the Cassiopeia is also making it through, and she's almost always first ban on red side. So that's very surprising, but it's not even going to be picked up.
It's not even going to be picked. That's very surprising. If this gets picked up here, right? If this is a, Cassiopeia pickup, I don't really know what's going to happen, right? If this is a Cass and Aatrox and Lucian for KSU, that's insane, right? That's crazy to think that they could get all of those champions on the first round rotation. So
yeah. And UCLA, their composition isn't bad at all. They have a Braum Urgot, which is very strong front to back team fighting. They also have a Lee Sin for some early game jungling, which will definitely be much stronger in the early against the Sejuani. The Cassiopeia does get banned out in the first ban of the second banning phase. So it does make sense that it is banned out eventually and just right away just slapped down. It does feel a bit punishing for UCLA forced to take the Braum here, because if it wasn't taken here, Kennesaw would have probably taken it. And Braum Lucian is just too strong of a lane. But it is a bit surprising that they didn't take the Cassio instead of the Sejuani. Maybe Coach Kim just isn't too comfortable on it, but the Urgot does very poorly into the Cassio. She can just run after him, run away from him super easily. So it is a bit of a questionable decision not taking it here. But going for that Sejuani, having some initiation, some very good scaling team fighting. Right now, it does look like they just want to get those mid-game power spikes, those 1-2 item spikes on that Lucian, on that Aatrox, and just start running through the game. And UCLA haven't shown too many of their carry picks yet. Still need that ADC and bot or ADC and mid pick.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised that they haven't gone and targeted bot lane a bit harder. Maybe that is what the Cassiopeia ban is. She has been flexed down there quite a bit recently, but Cassiopeia Braum's not the strongest matchup, right? It's not exactly what you call a power combination.
Yeah, it is a bot lane that we have seen before. However, it is much more of a just get through bot lane and then just have Cassio come online with the items. There is very little synergy between the two other than just their ability to kite away. The Cassio Braum passive synergy of the Braum is very, very suboptimal. The Ezreal, on the other hand, has very good synergy with the Braum, but against a Lucian, he will just have to be safe, make sure he's poking with Q and not eating too many thresh hooks or getting ganked by the Sejuani if he's overextended.
Yeah, and the Teemo, is this Teemo mid?
It could be an Urgot mid and then a different
it's
pick
just a
top
troll.
lane,
Okay.
but it is not going to be the Teemo overall. The Rise as well also could be a top lane, actually. We have seen it flexed up there. So again, the Urgot is still possibly in the mid lane. It would make sense to actually put the Rise against the Aatrox, kind of just to have that range against melee matchup. The Malzahar, if locked in here, is actually a devastating combination from KSU. They have so much crowd control. Look at this composition with the Malzahar in the mid lane, Sejuani in the jungle, and Thresh on support. They can single target CC somebody for a decade.
Yeah, and that is almost as much CC as a single Morgana Q. I mean, to talk about the length of time they're going to be trapped up, but the Malzahar, it is a pick that has been seen, but why would Rise take cleanse into it?
Yeah, you aren't going to be able to cleanse that Malzahar ultimate. The summoner might actually just be swapped. It might just be Spectator that is showing us this cleanse. I think at 1 second it'll switch it over. Maybe not. We'll have to see. But either way, even if he does take the cleanse, they also do have the Sejuani ultimate and the Thresh hook that he has to worry about. So it isn't bad by any means, but you're still going to have to pick up that QSS. QSS is mandatory on every single champion on the side of UCLA. There's no way they're going to be able to play League of Legends without one.
Yeah, and that's well, maybe it is a spectator bug indeed. But as we transition away and wait before we can get into our actual game screen, last thoughts, right? You took a look. You talked about the fact that there's a heck of a lot of CC on both sides. KSU definitely has quite a bit of their own, and UCLA. I mean, talk about the Braum, the Rise, the Urgot. There's plenty there as well. What team are you giving the overall edge to?
I definitely think KSU has a very kind of cookie cutter, they have to just make sure they find the pick, Flash Malzahar, Sejuani Thresh follow up. It is simple. They got to make it happen. UCLA, on the other hand, they have a bit more outplay potential. They have the flashy champions, the Lee Sin, the Urgot, the Rise even though he's pretty simple with his abilities, you can still do very mechanically intensive outplays just due to how much APM you need, and the Ezreal.
Yeah, and with that, we are into our game number 1 on the Rift for UCLA versus KSU, and we'll see if those predictions from our resident guru come true, or if they are dashed against the rocks, because after all, anything can happen in the game of League of Legends, and after this, I think things are going to shake up quite a bit, but because it's our last time on this patch, I mean, it should be business as usual, right? It should be practice. The teams have so much experience on it. It's been the same meta for forever. Nothing should really be changing, right?
Yeah, it definitely has. There's definitely a game plan here from both teams. KSU, they just want to fight coordinated, make sure they have the number advantage, and then take the fight, hit that go button. They have it set in their head. They're not going to want to try to do the flashy 1v1 solo outplays, which is what UCLA is definitely going to be wanting to do a bit more. With that Rise, with that Lee Sin, they can 2v2 very well. Or 2v1 even, they can just burst somebody down like that. With the Urgot as well to execute damage, there's a lot of damage on UCLA's side compared to that very heavy CC that KSU has. So it's going to be about the snowball, and it's going to be about the vision control this game.
Yeah, and you mentioned specifically, a lot of damage proportional to KSU. Damage has been the meta for quite some time, so is that, going to be a huge part of why they can win this out, or is it really going to come down to the execution?
The damage is definitely going to be helpful, but at the same time, KSU's comp isn't, slacking on the damage whatsoever. They have a Lucian, a Malzahar, and an Aatrox, all very decent amount of damage, especially in the early mid game. Their damage does fall off a bit later on when you reach those very late game champions, where the Rise Ezreal will do a bit more, but at the 1-2 items, you definitely will be seeing this Malzahar, Lucian, and Aatrox actually matching, if not doing more damage than their counterparts.
Yeah, it's been definitely quite a bit of damage coming out of the Aatrox, and I think, the Rise is still up in the air, but I'm hoping to see the same level of Rise that we used to, right? It's been so long since we've actually seen him, be a real champion, rework
When are they
after
gonna rework him again?
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
exactly. And if he does make it through, unscathed, if this is the final iteration of the rework, which I highly doubt, given his history, then maybe he can make another comeback, right? He's been in professional play ever since he was first introduced. It's just the idea of a machine gun mage, consistent damage, and an AP carry is so good, right? Everybody wants consistent damage. Everybody wants, to be able to play a front to back composition, not have to worry about the late game, but also have CC, and he brings everything to the table, plus movement speed. I mean, what more can you ask for? The answer is not much.
Definitely, he does bring a lot to the table. Also in the utility department, not just
Yeah.
that damage. It is a bit interesting to note Sejuani actually just reset. Never mind. She was sitting at the bot side after the Krugs and maybe was going to look for something, but with Ezreal and Braum both having the mobility to get out if she was to gank, just taking the safe option, making sure she keeps the momentum up in the jungle and just going to reset to her bot side.
Yeah, it's really hard for Lucian to actually pressure this lane, it looks like, right?
Yeah, for sure. The Lucian just he can't dash forward against them because then he's not gonna have the mobility to dodge out. If he gets hit by a Braum Q and then followed up by an Ezreal Q or just even auto attacks, ooh, nice chunk onto Urgot.
Good
And a
play in
hook
the bot
landing.
lane as well. This might be the Braum taking more damage than he bargained for. In fact, the trade does go fantastically. He's down below a third HP, but yeah, you saw that top lane as well. I mean, just no fear, walking forward with the Aatrox, getting huge amounts of damage and almost making it all count, but couldn't close the deal in the end. Instead, he will back off, and we will see a relatively even sort of trade almost, right? You think it's going to be a lot more one-sided, but because Braum has still had, a couple potions, he's not actually that far behind in the health totals.
Definitely will be able to just live through it. And this Urgot up in the top lane does have the TP available if he needs it, so he can just recall, TP back up,
Aatrox
switch to
too.
Ignite. But he has the spellbook, so he can also have a summoner, basically matching summoners once he comes back. So it is definitely not bad if he was to take a reset, try to say, okay, I'm just gonna go back,
Not
get level
sick.
6, make sure I pop your pass ulti, and then just drop it on you.
Speaking of not getting
a lot of
6,
damage
this Malzahar in the mid lane is not 6 yet. He forces the Rise flash with a very early Sejuani roam. The read, right, and Coach Kim just being able to withstand the Rise damage, putting up so many Voidlings he couldn't actually throw anything at him, right? The wall was erected in front of him. Oh, dodging out the Lee Sin Q as well. And, yeah, just bought enough time for his jungler to get in there.
Yeah, you do have to remember though that Ryze can EEQ the Voidling army and just
Yeah.
delete all of them, and so that could also even hurt the Malzahar potentially. So you have to watch out for that interaction a little
6.
bit.
He doesn't have mana though, right? He has flash, but no mana for ultimate. That could have been literally a kill there. There's no flash in the Rise. Now, he's got to be super careful.
Definitely, but it looks like everything so far is just going to go really slow pace. And we talked about how the spikes for KSU are going to be much earlier on in the game, while UCLA are going to want to just stall it out, get those 4 or 5 item Ezreal and Rise, and just destroy everybody. And with this pace so far, it is looking pretty decent for UCLA, but KSU haven't bled anything early, which means once they start getting those level 6s, which they have just been picking up, they are going to start hitting that go button. And now is when we really start needing to watch these, especially the mid jungle duo, where are Coach Kim and the Sejuani going to be going to? Because if they are roaming together somewhere, that is almost a guaranteed kill as long as there's even or a number advantage for them.
Yeah, I mean, even if there's a number disadvantage, they're probably still going to walk away with at least 1 kill, right? It's a Malzahar ult, for God's sake. This thing is incredibly strong at just pressuring lanes. And, there's actually something I've been meaning to ask. I've seen a lot of Malzahars, and the vast majority of them obviously run, some variation of Airy or Comet, right? But in the world of, team-oriented play, Predator seems like the best option. Is that just not the case, or is it because it just hasn't gotten the same effect on Malzahar?
Mostly you just want to have that kind of extra bit of damage and poke throughout the laning phase. But there also have been some people that do run on occasion Spellbook on Malzahar, although that is definitely much more rare, more common than the Predator though, which allows you to have some kind of kill pressure through extra summoner advantage, also having that extra mobility from
Also,
either.
speaking of kill pressure, Havoc is already down under turret. Ruination can't actually find the kill. I mean, he's there with the Lee Sin, but it is still the ultimate from the Aatrox. Allows him to survive. He doesn't have TP though, so this is going to be a lot of damage on the turret.
It will be, and with that, yeah, I mean, this Aatrox has the ultimate. Sorry, the Urgot has the ultimate. Aatrox does not. That could mean a very dead Aatrox if he does, overcommit, or even just take a teleport here without his jungler to back him up. Although Urgot might have DC'd. Maybe just getting that fast recall.
But fast recall, I guess. He just really, really didn't want to hit that turret. So he doesn't have to now.
Yeah, I mean, 27-second death timer, but 0 time spent recalling.
8 versus 27. The math doesn't add up. I think the recall would have been better for him, but hey, maybe it was, a momentary bit of lag. Everybody's been there.
They did get a turret plating from it.
They did get plates. Plates are good. They got 2 plate, in fact.
Yeah,
so
that's actually a decent amount of gold. We will have to keep track of how much this Urgot does get, because while he does have a death, there's no kills yet. So he has a decent CS lead, and he has a mid laner who might be dead.
Yeah, not might be. Is dead. First blood goes down. A great ultimate sets it up for the Sejuani, and that's all that she wrote. They get the first kill for the side of KSU, and realistically, I think that was kind of expected, right? It's a flashless cleanse secondary rise. There's not much he can do about that. Malzahar didn't even have to expend flash though, which means the positioning maybe could have been a bit better.
Yeah, a bit too far forward, you would think, because Malzahar didn't even have to burn the flash. And that means that the Malzahar still does have flash. So as soon as that ultimate is back up, hey Sejuani, come mid lane again. We're just gonna force out either rise flash or get a kill.
Oh, hook lands, but this is not the time that they actually want to go in, because the turn is there with the Lee Sin behind them in the bush. He actually procs one of those two, and the second one is going to send Thresh to his death. But before they can actually get out, the Sejuani has arrived and is trying to turn the fight around, but the only thing she has done is add gold to their coffers, as the Ezreal goes huge with a double kill, is looking for the triple kill now. Coach Kim, even though he's gotten the Braum, the Lee Sin will finish him off 4-2, and what a turnaround by UCLA.
Huge fight for them, and it really did feel bad for KSU as they just trickled in, and UCLA picks up so much off of that fight. They have a 2k gold lead, also getting some turret platings in the bot lane. That is a giant swing for them, and if they can run with that momentum, again, they're champions, while maybe not as notorious for spikes as I mean, you might even say they are as notorious. Ezreal, Sheen, Muramana, a huge spike, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
and
maybe just a 1.5 item spike is all they need. And so this Ezreal,
now they have a
gold.
huge spike of their own. They're in the top lane, but they can't kill him through the Aatrox ultimate. You got to remember that he is going to come back up. And so they use the Urgot ulti, trade it for the Aatrox ultimate, but only one of these two has teleport up. And
but it also
Urgot.
was the Aatrox flash.
True.
Because
that
the
is
ultimate
true.
does pull him in, he does have to use the flash to be able to get away from that fight. And so that is a pretty substantial summoner blow. And although it might not matter if they can get the kill here.
Yeah, this would have to be the kill instantly, though. He flashes backwards, tries to kill Havoc, and he gets it with that ignite. He's been holding on to that for ages, and finally it pans out. But Counter-Strike, he's got to start moving a bit quicker. These spider legs aren't exactly carrying him fast enough. And that's what we're talking about. He goes down to the Sejuani, but this is not over yet in the top lane. We talked about the fighting. It's absolutely endless. The Lee Sin thinks that he wants a piece of the action, and maybe he's going to get it with the Rise coming in. It should be a very secure kill at this point, and they're just going to chase him down. Barth, he doesn't want to give it over to anybody, so he goes into the turret.
Yeah, and that is a good idea. The Lee Sin, however, is going to be able to snowball a bit harder because of that, but it means that the Rise is still not nearly as fed as he wants to be. Now, an engage into bot lane looks like a 3v3 breaking out, but Thresh super low.
Thresh is already going to be dead before it even matters, right? The Braum ultimate knocks up the Lucian in the middle of the culling, and he's just going to drop to the Ezreal Q as well. You talked about that spike. The Manamune and that Sheen are just too much damage, right? It looks like UCLA are starting to run away with this game number one. You got to think, maybe they've just got a better read on the meta, right? They didn't bring a bunch of CC. They just brought the damage. And what's the best form of CC? It's death.
Yeah, and it isn't necessarily the amount of CC that they have or the amount of meta that they have. It's just the amount of solo potential that they have. All their champions can do outplays, and they're just trying to take the skirmishes, trying to take fights where they can just do wacky things and say, just on an individual level, we are going to match you, and we're going to win through that. And so far, we haven't seen any kind of coordinated team fighting, any kind of coordinated vision even trying to be made by KSU. They haven't been able to find the picks, say, for one mid lane with the Malzahar Sejar, and they need to be able to replicate that and make sure that it is going down consistently, because right now there's no QSSs on the map. And so if they can still abuse that fact, shut down this Ezreal, get some gold onto their carries, it is still very possible for them to start swinging this around.
Yeah, certainly doable, I think, would be the operative word, but hopefully they can find a way to actually execute that. We haven't seen it, you know, you mentioned it, we just haven't seen it. KSU have been just completely on the back foot for a while now, and if that continues, you know, it's not likely that UCLA are going to let off the gas. They need to turn the momentum against them a little bit. Oh,
Yeah.
This is not what I meant. Yeah, dash through that wall, get away from that quickly, because the rest of UCLA is right there and waiting.
Yeah, gonna have to concede that Drake. 2 towers down now. Gold lead has been spiraling out of control. 6K already this early in the game is a huge difference. And I mean, they did get that first mountain Drake, so it's not just all the Drakes going over, but that Ocean Drake actually does help a decent amount. People give Ocean Drake a pretty bad rep, but hold on, Sejuani in the bot side, this is gonna have to take priority.
This could be about the right time to do it. Remember, we talked about them needing to make plays, but unless they get this Urgot down quickly, it's not going to be what the doctor ordered. They need to finish this off and then turn it into a bigger play, but he's drawn 2 of their members down for so long.
Yeah, Rift Herald was taken. It is on the Ezreal currently, who's on the top side of the map. So it's not going to be used mid lane right here unless Ezreal walks his way over.
Oh, but they've got Coach Kim as well. The hook lands onto the Braum. Maybe they can convert this, but the flash is up as well. UCLA making very good use of their summoner spells so far.
For sure. And UCLA, they take, you see KSU take an inch, you take a mile from it. That wasn't as drastic of a change, but still, the Urgot isn't the pick that they need to be making. They need to make sure that they're getting those shutdown kills, because that gold is going to be really important right now, as they just need to have some kind of gold to deal damage to get through. Right now, they're just going to lose through fights.
Yeah.
So they need to make sure that they get some picks, get some gold into their pockets, so they can actually try to contest things. Because we saw they had to leave the Dragon, they had to leave the Rift Herald, and just try to make a play bot lane. Yes, that Urgot kill is going to give a bit of gold over, but it's not that 800 that Ezreal would give. And it's not shutting those members down that are fed, taking them off the map and slowing down this pushing. Ezreal dropping the Herald down in the mid lane, they're going to get even more.
This should be the turret for sure. I mean, with Herald coming down and with 4 members here, only 2 contesting, there's nobody to stop this Herald. And realistically, it might even get a second charge off, right? This has to be a huge, huge stop coming out from the side of KSU, and they're going to get it, actually. It's given over by UCLA. Maybe they thought something was up. Maybe they thought they were getting flanked, but whatever the case might be, the Herald does not get the second charge off.
Yeah, they do have to always be cautious throughout this game, as if they don't have the supporting vision to make plays, they could easily get picked out by the Sejuani Malzahar combo. And even the Thresh on top of that, any 2 of those champions together, of those 3, can just destroy a team member, right? And if they get that initial pick, that could be the fight right there. And so they don't want to overstep. They want to make sure that they have the side vision to make sure they aren't getting flanked, make sure they aren't going to just, let their Ezreal get free ulted by the Sejuani. And it is a little bit questionable that there isn't a QSS on some of these carries yet, as Ezreal, instead of that Phage, that could have been a QSS, and it would have been a lot safer for him right now. They're taking a risk by not getting these QSSs early, so far it's been paying off as they've been getting that extra bit of damage in these fights, but they might get punished for it if they're not careful.
Okay. They kind of are getting punished for it already. With that second turret down, they're going to have to try to make a stand at this inhibitor tower, but look at that damage. There's nothing they can do. There's nobody tanky enough to stand up to it, even though they have what could be a front line. It just can't be brought to bear, right? Sejuani isn't even on her second item, and they're already doing this much damage.
Yeah, it's definitely really rough right now if you are on the side of KSU. But again, they have their win condition. They just need to make those picks. The only problem is if UCLA isn't splitting up, if they're keeping proper vision and proper fight lines, and they aren't just getting caught out willy-nilly, it basically eliminates almost any kind of chance that KSU has to get back in this game.
Yeah. That might be that might be the only time that they can find something is if they're gifted it then, right? UCLA has to mess up, but it doesn't look like they're going to do so. In fact, they're going to get exactly the pick that they want. The frontliner is right there and waiting, but with the ultimate coming into the backside, maybe KSU can turn this fight around. They already have 2 kills, and they're just going to try and chase for a couple more. Counter-Strike, he gets away, or so he thought. Such a big target, and the hook makes a connection onto the running of the running of the Urgot. Flash over the wall. This might be the Urgot just giving his team away. 2 men left, but KSU are definitely not out of this game yet.
Yeah, and if that hook hits Ezreal there, that is an Ezreal 800 kill shutdown, most likely going over to Lucian, at least getting his flash down. But I think that would have probably been a kill, and I mean, that's exactly what they needed to happen. And now with that, they get an Infernal Drake too. KSU, they knew what their win con was. They were looking for it. They kind of took a little nibble here and there of the Urgot, but now is when they made it work in the team fight. And with that, the gold lead gets much closer, and that Infernal Dragon also kind of covering up some of that gold deficit. Now KSU is on a much better spot, and they can make much more aggressive plays and get the fights that they want a lot easier.
Yeah.
That was kind of the miracle fight that they needed to happen.
It's true, right? And speaking of miracles, right? If this continues to go their way, right? If they can find another one of those fights, all of a sudden it's even. Because they got 3 kills during that one. They get 3 kills during a second one. It's going to happen again.
Yeah, Urgot blowing both his summoners there. If he can't get anything for it, it is a bit unfortunate. Although that one of his summoners was a spellbook summoner, so air quote summoners.
Air quote summoners. It's the summoners, quote unquote, right?
Yeah. But basically just trading top lane flash for flash, which, I mean, both top laners do like to have their flash, but I think in a team fight, an Aatrox is a little bit scarier with his flash. I mean, Urgot already has the Righteous Glory. As long as he has that, he's just going to be able to run at you either way. While Aatrox, if he has his flash, he's going to be able to just flash Q your backline, and it's going to just pop out at them and do a lot of damage. So definitely a lot less scary to teamfight against that Aatrox now. So UCLA feeling a little more comfortable possibly if they were to just straight 5v5.
Yeah, I think that they're feeling fantastic, right? Because the reason that it seems, it seems sketchy is because it's just like, okay, well, they haven't gotten anything. But that fight, all of the members just seemed to fall perfectly into place, right? It was just the Malzahar's not getting focused. The Sejuani, all the effort they put into killing her, she stopwatched. And so as soon as she stopwatches, the team sort of paused, and then didn't have anything they could actually do. That's, if that happens again, right, then it would be incredibly devastating. But for now, at least, I think this is still a very doable fight for, UCLA if they want to maintain the lead. What do they have to do, though? Exactly. Who do they have to kill first in order to win these fights?
Yeah, UCLA needs to make sure that they are getting that Malzahar and or Lucian off the map, because those two are the keys to this comp. If you get rid of one of those, there's a lot less damage on the side of KSU. And if you can get that Malzahar down, not only do you get the damage, but you get the guaranteed CC. You do not have to worry about your Ezreal getting flash R'd anymore. However, you're gonna have to kill that Malzahar through a stopwatch when he has his flash available. That is a big task to take, and you still have not picked up any QSSs yet. I think that is a very big disrespect by UCLA, and they might pay for it in this next fight.
Yeah, they just might. I mean, that was, you know, quite a quite an interesting fight the last time these two teams met. But so far, they're just kind of dancing around the edges. You know, no one really wants to commit, and I think that means the game is going to go quite long, right? Because most of the time when this happens, it's a sign that neither team wants to take fights, and usually once teams are into the 60 70 second death timers, one team instantly losing a fight loses the game scenario, that's when the game actually ends. In this middle ground, it kind of slows down. That's really just what's happened in college teams. They are indecisive. It is because they're a collegiate team.
Yeah,
And
no one player wants to make that play that's going to lose their team that game, so
Yeah.
they'd rather just make the safe play. And while yes, that is actually good for UCLA this game, because if they're not getting caught out, they're not mispositioning, and they're being very mindful and safe with where they are on the map, that's going to make it a lot harder for this pick comp to execute. KSU needs to make sure that they are looking aggressively for those plays, and they aren't just saying, we are a little bit behind in gold, let's just play safe, guys. Because if this team with a Malzahar, Sedge, Thresh play safe, if those players aren't going into the enemy, and just looking for those kills, then it's going to be extremely hard to maintain that kind of momentum shift that they got. And they probably will just dwindle back into the position where they were very far behind, and they had to get such a good miracle play.
Yeah. It's more of the same right now, right? And is it the Baron that's going to make them fight? Is it just time? When are they actually going to take this to the next stage?
We'll have to see. There's also another Ocean Drake on the bot side of the map, and as I was talking about before, a team fight interrupted much earlier on. The Ocean Drake is actually really nice for the Ezreal and the Ryze to have. Both of them very mana dependent. Even the Urgot, he's in the side lane a lot. Since he's a range champion, he's not going to be in combat all the time. And he does like to have a little bit of extra mana here and there, also a little bit of sustain. But, fight breaking out possibly.
Oh, as soon as you said it.
Just a Thresh Flash.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to stop committing in, and maybe that's going to be the start. Maybe it's not actually. They're still being so hesitant to actually, take these fights. And for good reason, right? Whoever wins the next fight is probably going to have a massive advantage in actually taking the game over. But, it needs to happen sometime.
Yeah, and the Baron dropping really fast. This might be it. Malzahar a little bit split off from his team. Questionable positioning.
Oh, this could be the wrong place at the wrong time. That is the answer. He already has to throw down his stopwatch, and as he flashes away, he gets brought down by Ride Dragon, but that signals the rest of KSU as the time to go in. With the Aatrox falling, though, they are quickly losing members, and it looks like KSU are going to be forced off of this Baron, but UCLA cannot continue it either. They are still dangerously low, and KSU are in the wings. They're waiting for the overcommit to happen.
Yeah,
Not going to be the case.
It felt like Malzahar, Coach Kim. Oh, wait, Sejuani might be found out
Sejuani's
here.
gone. With the smite off the pick, maybe she's not gone.
She's fast. Oh,
Rise
Ryze
ultimate. They're pinching her in. She has to go down here. There's no way she lives, and that will be a finish by Ezreal. As soon as the smite's off the table, now they can start the Baron.
Yeah. However, Malzahar does have teleport available, and there are 4 members on the map if the Malzahar does teleport in. However, they're not going to contest it, even if they weren't able to recall yet. So they're just going to concede the Baron, go for an Ocean Drake in mid tower, and say, we'll take what we can get. But that is a big Baron for the side of UCLA.
Yeah, it's a huge Baron, in fact. That's absolutely massive. They were, having trouble getting a lead. This is probably the lead that they needed, right? They had a huge lead. They gave it up in a fight. Now they've got it again. Is this time enough with one buff for them to close out the game, though?
It might be at this point. They could try to. However, they still don't have a single QSS. So it will be hard to walk into this Malzahar. He doesn't have his flash anymore. It makes it much better for them. But still, even not just a Malzahar, the Sejuani, the Thresh, if any of that CC hits one of the carries, that could be a team fight shifting completely to the side of KSU.
Yeah. Maybe. It's probably doable, right? It's not so far out of the question. I mean, you take a look, right? This is 7K gold. That's not. It's not insane, but it
game
is
over
still
point.
difficult, right?
Ooh, that makes it a lot more difficult though.
Yeah, no Sejuani ultimate. They're going to be forced to find alternate measures to get this lead, and Urgot is just continuing his reconstruction work on their base, and the style he's going for is ruined dystopia. The bricks are starting to fall around him, and as the mid turret drops 2, this could be a bit dangerous, right? We mentioned the fact that this Baron buff could be the potential to just end everything right here, right now, which means KSU, if they're just going to give everything up, they could lose right here without even firing a shot. Starting the fight off, though, Counter-Strike, he's already going to be going down, but will that be enough? The rest of KSU now have to turn and corner UCLA, but they're already onto the inhibitor, and as it falls, the Sejuani, she is on the backside, the Malzahar ult lands, and they're going to start the engage. They have damage, but do they have enough? It looks like it. Havoc, he's on a rampage, and they're going to continue forwards as Light looks to find the Ezreal. He remembers that Ezreal's a lot stronger than he is, and so they do start to run away instead.
And again, that is what they can do with this composition. Just turn these fights around as long as they find the crucial pick. And I mean, they just ran through these members, no QSS. And it's it's a slap in the face for UCLA. Now they have 2 QSSs on the at least 2 carries, 2 main carries, and stopwatches on the tankier carries of the Lee Sin and Urgot. So they have ways to survive post ulti or get out of the ultis from these just press R CC for a couple of years champions. And so this is, yes, they got some gold on the table, and yes, UCLA probably should have bought those QSSs way earlier and saved themselves losing that last fight and possibly the one earlier. But KSU does have a little bit more of a window now. They have a little bit of gold. They're going to be able to clear this out, buy themselves some time. The next fight will probably be a lot harder for them, though.
Yeah, and that next fight, we mentioned how difficult it's going to be, but it's all because of this Ezreal, right?
Yeah, this Ezreal has just become huge. With his 3 items, he has the double tier build with a Triforce completed. That is a lot of damage. Capital
And,
underlined a lot.
I was actually wondering something. So the Ezreal builds, are you able to, let's say, have a mana immune and get second tier, or do you have to wait for it to fully stack the mana before
Well,
you build it?
You can get the second tier. It's just not going to start stacking until the mana immune is completed. So it's like Dark Seal, where the second stacking item won't have any added benefits. And so if you were to say,
So the reason I ask is because, you know, obviously, you can stack tier, and it counts as a unique quote-unquote passive. But they share a counter, right? So once mana immune ticks over to Muramana, let's say your tier is at 650, or let's say your tier is at 750, right?
it'll
And
just
takes
reset
over-
back to 0.
It resets to 0. Perfect. Okay, got you.
Yep. And so that was a lot of tier stacking that he had to do to get those double tier items. But this Ezreal is at ideal items right now. This is probably when he's going to be his most strongest. Now he has a little bit of sustain with that Vamp Scepter, which is very noticeable. I should add, having
Going
a
into
form
the
of
Merc,
sustain
yeah.
makes sieging much easier on your carry, where if he gets hit by, say, you know, a stray skill shot, or just, you know, Malzahar Q or E spreads to him or something like that, he'll be able to heal it up and just keep sieging down. And this Ezreal is the linchpin for UCLA right now.
100%. I mean, the Urgot is, you know, a beefy boy. He can be replaced, though, right? You can't replace your hyper carry. And Ezreal, he's once again stepped back into the hyper carry role, right? For the longest time, he was kind of being relegated to, you know, poke mage or, you know, secondary carry, etc. And now he's back to doing insane amounts of damage. So
When he's 7-0, especially then he can, but teamfight breaking out.
yeah, and this might be the fight that ends it all. Will they have the damage? Will they have the ability to win this kick backwards? Is the Aatrox, but with that man going extremely low, they will be able to bring down the Urgot. You have to think so. Maybe that's not the case. He flashes away and gets another shield, and lives to tell the tale. The only one who had gone down was the Aatrox from that side, and the Braum from the other side. The Lucian is caught out, though, in the Rise. Make sure he stays in place and faces his fears. The fears are, of course, that his base is going to be destroyed. They have no inhibitors left. As soon as this one goes down, double supers are going to start coming in, and they have to clear it all out of the way. No Baron buff on these minions, but a lot of champions behind them, and this could be the end of the game. The flip backwards onto Malzahar forces out the Zanyas from him, and now they are going to try to start the fight and finish it off. Ride Dragon takes down Coach Kim, and the rest of the members pursue the Thresh and chase him as well. They got that kill. They're looking for the last one. The Sejuani in base. The Ezreal's doing his best, but it just doesn't matter. Even if she gets out alive, the base does not.
Yeah, and just like that, it's going to be the win for UCLA. Very stylish players and stylish champions making it work for a really exciting game from them. It almost was turned around by their disrespect of KSU, though.
Yeah.
And KSU, they kept their heads in the game. They took good fights for the most part, but then just accidentally overstepped a little bit too far and lost all that they were fighting for.
Yeah. That's
Unlucky.
Unlucky indeed. But it's only the first game of the series. There are still ways for them to come back into this. There are still ways for KSU to, make a return, make some time, get back in, and possibly win this game. But we'll have to see if that's the case in game number 2, which means we're going to be going to a short break. And when we come back, KSU is going to look to even up the series, or UCLA is going to take it home 2-0. Don't go anywhere. More CSL right after this. All right, we are back, and you know what that means. It is time for game number 2 of our series, KSU versus UCLA. And UCLA, coming off of a very interesting victory. They had some rough points in the game, of course, chances for a comeback, but never actually materialized. Instead, they did end up closing out the game, and now it's looking like maybe they've got some momentum. Maybe they've got something figured out on this last games of the patch before we hit our new season officially. So we shall see going into game number 2. Got anything to add on that before we get into our champion select?
Nope, just heading right into it. Pretty
Okay.
excited to see how these two teams head into the second match. KSU definitely seemed like if they weren't as far behind as they were early on, I think that they would have snowballed the mid game and actually taken the game. Because even in that last fight, it started getting really close to looking like UCLA was possibly even going to lose it. So I think that as long as KSU remembers their win conditions, doesn't panic, and doesn't drop too many kills early on, and just plays as a team, which it seems like their strength isn't as an individual player, but as a whole, everybody comes together as one kind of power house of a team. Whereas UCLA, their individual players are very flashy, very showy, and very good, but it didn't seem like they had as much coordination in those team fights and kind of dropped some kills in some of them.
Yeah, they dropped a couple kills, and sometimes they dropped a fight. It did happen actually. So we shall see if it happens again or if not. Right. This is, of course, game number 2. So as you take a look, pretty much the same bans across the board actually. Not much switched up. Red side banned Galio both times.
The Zoe
That's
did make
kind of
it through,
expected.
which is something that I distinctly remember being banned last game. She is a very obnoxious pick to deal with, and so we'll have
Yeah.
to see if they do pick her up in this game. But especially with the Urgot, that's a very strong combination with the Zoe sleeping a target and then Urgot being able to Righteous Glory on top of them and then just execute them disgustingly, because Zoe and Urgot damage together just means that literally every champion will die.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes, right? Zoe is, the champion that takes you from 100 to like 30%, and Urgot's the champion that executes you at 30%. So, it works out pretty well.
Already some changes though. We do see the Lucian is picked up by the side of UCLA, so, and the Urgot's on the side of KSU.
Urgot
So,
and Aatrox.
yeah, a lot of power picks being left through these ban phase.
Oh, and Cassiopeia. Wow, KSU. I mean,
That
talk
is
about a meta adaptation.
Yes,
This is it.
this is actually disgusting from the side of KSU. They have probably 3 of the strongest champions on the previous patch that they possibly could get. Now, the Lucian is actually up there in that top 5 for sure. I think he might edge out the Aatrox, possibly the Urgot in power. But Lucian's good. Lucian Braum is very good. But so are Aatrox, Urgot, and Cassio. It's a trade-off. I don't think the Lee Sin needed to be prioritized as highly as it was.
Yeah.
And also, Cassio does fairly decent into the Lucian. Lucian having to dash into a Cassio puts him in a very vulnerable position. And, if she wants to play aggressive onto him, if she can get in range to miasma him, he's not able to dash away, have that same kind of safety. And yes, Braum can then dash to the Lucian and protect him if he's not already in front of him. But then the Braum will just get chunked out very hard, because Braum is not going to be able to eat all of Cassio's damage, because she will hurt.
Yeah. And unlike, most ADs where there's either they scale up or they have a burst combo, Cassio has a scaling burst combo. You know what I mean? She just keeps hitting you with the E until you either die or walk out of range.
Yeah, we really do need to keep an eye out on this Cassio pick. Besides that, there's also the factor that the Aatrox could be flexed into the jungle if they really want to get fancy with all those flex picks. Other than that, they just need to determine whether or what lane matchup is better for these two champions. If they want to have the Aatrox go in the top lane or into the mid lane, we'll have to wait and see. I don't think that the Cassio is going anywhere but bot lane unless it is an Aatrox jungle, in which case, get me off this wild ride.
Yeah, that would be my my reaction as well, right? You can't really expect.
I mean,
the
you can't
Aatrox
expect
jungle.
anything, really. We've seen it too many times for comfort, so...
I actually just got done playing a game in which Aatrox jungle was prominently featured, and we did really, really well. So, you know, it's happened. It's certainly
Yeah.
happened. So,
But into that, they do pick the Renekton, and I do like this. Into the Aatrox, he can kind of dodge through those, make sure that he doesn't get hit by those power spots from the Aatrox because of his ability to dash not once, but also twice if he's trying to play aggressively. So as long as we see this Renekton respecting the jungler, which that is a jungler they will really have to respect, this Renekton could have a very good sign lane matchup.
yeah.
Other than that, though, there's an Aatrox Sejuani, which is very good for locking down targets and ganking top lane. Aatrox provides a lot of CC, Sejuani does as well, and since Aatrox is melee, can also let Sejuani get her E off of that. So, very good 2v2 top lane potential with that pick.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's hard to think, where else they could go with the picks, right? Are they just
I definitely think everything is locked into what we initially thought it was going to be. The Aatrox
Cassiopeia?
into...
Cassidon would be a good counter here, right?
It would be a bit... Well, the
Elcon.
thing is, the Cassiopeia is not going to go mid lane. And you don't want to put Cassidon into the double melee champions.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be Aatrox bot lane. We do see the switch back. But yeah, this Lucian Braum lane, very strong. The Cassio Tom Kench lane, very safe and scales very effectively. And Lucian Braum doesn't scale too bad either. I mean, Lucian definitely falls off harder than Cassio, but Braum brings a lot of utility to teamfights, and they are not lacking in teamfight damage whatsoever, as they have that Vel'Koz, who can provide just amazing teamfight potential, especially against all those tanky melee champions. If you can keep that Vel'Koz peeled, he will just destroy their health bars. The only thing I'm scared of is a little bit of a lack of frontline on the side of UCLA. They have, again, a lot of damage, a lot of playmaking, a lot of flashy stuff, but they don't have that kind of safe peel. They don't have too much besides the Braum to just stand in front of you. Yes, Renekton and Lee Sin can get a bit tanky, but it's not going to be the same level of, let's say, an Urgot or a Sejuani, maybe even the Tom Kench.
Okay. Maybe, just maybe, we'll see something interesting though as we load into the Rift shortly. We shall see which of these two teams can take it home. Remember, UCLA, they need to win this game if they want to win the series, but if they want to stay in, KSU have to win this and the next game, right? They got to win 2 in a row. They are now on the complete back foot, but if they can reset the bracket, reset the mental with this fantastic draft, it should be all right.
Yeah, it definitely looks like just power pick after power pick for KSU. However, again, like last game, the comfort for UCLA, just picking what they're good with and just making those plays happen is what won them the game. And switching up from that would probably not be the most ideal thing to do in the first place. So I think that both teams are playing to their strengths. A lot of power for KSU, but will it be enough is the only thing that I'm wondering.
Yeah. Because keep in mind, right? This is their AD had the same Lucian, right? Their jungler has Lee in his tag, right? They got their champs. They got exactly what they wanted out of it. The Renekton has power, its potential to just win against Havoc before he even gets his ult, right? The question is, as you said, who gets that first blood?
Yeah, and I think both teams can snowball very hard due to one team being very squishy and the other having high damage, and the other team having a lot of champions that can just become oppressive with 1 or 2 items advantage. Urgot, when he has the advantage, will just run you down. Aatrox, when he has the advantage, will run you down. And they're squishy enough to be able to be run down However, they also have that damage where they will scale extremely hard with items too. So both teams, it's just who can get that, early lead. Both junglers have good ganking potential. Lee Sin a little bit better pre-6 compared to the Sejuani, especially in the dueling, but Sejuani will provide much easier post-6 ganks.
This is yeah, post 6 obviously going to be pretty important, pretty contested, but
And even for all of KSU, their level 6s are very good for all of them. The Urgot ulti, the Aatrox ulti, super powerful. Sejuani ulti, it is Sejuani ulti. I mean, it is her defining
it's Sigil,
ability.
you know.
And then Cassio and Tahm Kench, not as important, but it does allow for a lot more global plays. Having 3 teleports and a Tahm Kench ulti, you can get people around the map.
Yeah, and the other thing is, right, this is pre-Tahm Kench nerf patch, right? Tahm Kench, his ultimate, as it currently stands on this patch, you can actually just ult, and then people can jump into it. It's like a second eat, but... Oh, the landing of that Q, the Sonic Wave, plus the passive actually proccing means that he's going to be in a lot of trouble, and Arth is going to go down. Now Coach Kim is the one that's actually has to run away. In fact, he dodges out the Sonic Wave just in time, but yeah, he was in trouble too, and that's not what you want to see, right? You mentioned the early game is going to be quite decisive, especially for the side of KSU. You know, they're on power picks, it might not be comfort, and if it's starting to pan out like this, especially early game, right, Lee Sin takes a lead, it's going to be great for UCLA, but any of the KSU fans out there are going to be worried at the very least.
For sure. With the scaling that they have, with the amount of snowball, it's not just scaling. Lee Sin's scale is pretty bad, actually, but his snowball potential is tremendous. Once he gets those 1-2 items over you, he will just destroy your health bar and will basically just dictate what you're allowed to do at any point in the game. And so, Lee Sin already getting a slight advantage, as well as the Vel'Koz. He can, as we mentioned, will destroy teamfights. Although, hold on a second, Flash burned.
Flash gone. Yeah. Protected without Flash is still much the same champ. It just kind of limits his double E combo range. But
I say it hinders his escape more than his mobility, or his aggression.
because when you're double E comboing anyway, you're usually in range, right?
Yeah.
That's a very long combo.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. Think about, would you rather, that's 2 abilities forward out of 3 abilities potentially, while it's 1 out of 2 to escape. You're not going to have an E target always when trying to get away.
Yeah.
So you're going to have only 1 dashing ability when getting out in comparison to the 2 with E and then Flash. So that makes him a lot more risky up in this top lane. And we do see Sejuani definitely trying to find something here. But Lee Sin also is here to match if they do break out into a fight. And Renekton has item advantage.
Done. In fact, this is going to be Aatrox that's first to the table, but he is not first to the engage. He actually runs away, and as of right now, I mean, you know, Lee Sin being there with a great counter burns the Aatrox flash, right? So now Aatrox is down his escape summoner as well.
Yeah, and Renekton, while he doesn't have teleport anymore, he does have the recall already that went down. He does have item advantage, and he does have a very nice CS advantage as well. If you look at that CS lead in the top lane and in the mid lane and bot lane too, everybody on UCLA is outshining their laning opponent.
That's kind of a repeat of what we saw last game, right? UCLA prioritizing these lane dominant champions and just trying to get, you know, some stuff going early, and they did do that, right? They did that quite convincingly. The problem is that in the mid game they slipped up, right? But if they get another consistent early game, all they have to do then is say, okay, just let the mid game pass. We know we're stronger. Just keep getting the farm, keep getting the advantages, and then eventually we're going to have a huge lead.
And right now, UCLA is going right towards that. They're playing towards their comfort, and they're in a very comfortable position now with a 1k gold lead, 10k to 9k. That's pretty significant this early on. If they can keep expanding this difference, keep that percentage lead, it means that once objectives start coming up, they can do them very easily, have very little to have to worry about in terms of contention, and then just zone them off due to their, I mean, they have pretty decent range poke with the Vel'Koz, so they can make sure that the objectives will be done safely.
A little bit of a slowdown course, in between the fights, but there's still, over 1,000 gold advantage quite early into the game. And that's, as you said, every lane is winning, right? It's not just some of the lanes. It's not just, oh, we've got a couple advantages. It's every lane is ahead. Some of them aren't ahead by much, but they're all ahead by some measure. And the only one that looks to turn back into the favor of KSU is this bot lane, right? The stacked wave, eventually Cassiopeia is going to collect that.
Yeah, she will get the CS advantage here as long as she gets just 4 of those minions there. I don't think she's going to be missing that many. Oh, there's one. Okay, maybe.
Maybe.
We'll have to wait and see, but don't think it's likely. And so with that, Cassio is also kind of their main carry. She is their big source of magic damage, as Sejuani, she does a tiny bit, Tahm Kench does a tiny bit, but they have 2 physical in the solo lanes, so it's mostly on her to do well, so they have the damage they need. But look at this bot lane. Lee Sin and the Vel'Koz are coming in for a dive. Sejuani's here to counter it. There's no TP
Will she be there in
on mid
time,
and
though?
top, though. It's
Right,
a
they're already
2v3.
starting to dive, and
It's
this
a 3v4.
incredibly devastating with them going out of the Tahm Kench. They haven't finished him off either. Lee Sin tanking quite a few tower shots, but that is a stunned Braum, and he is not going to go down. He gets the flash away, which means there is time for the passive to proc onto the Cassiopeia, and she drops as well. The fight, it goes wild, it goes weird, and it still ends up in a 2-for-2 trade, but only one of the 2 carries is left alive to farm.
Definitely does put this Cassiopeia behind. She loses her flash. She loses a bit of that wave. She gets her teleport in, but doesn't really get any of the CS there anymore. And so loses that CS lead. Loses that summoner advantage. Or, sorry, just her summoners, period. And now is at a summoner deficit.
Yeah, you'd have to think with the TK coming up that quickly and knowing that the minions were going to be down, just use the TK ult. It comes up way quicker than the 6-minute teleport cooldown, but,
Yeah, and I mean, with that being a 2-for-2, you also have to think about where the gold is going to. You have Sejuani who picked up one of the kills, compared to the... I mean, Braum also got a kill, but Lucian... I mean, it is pretty even, although I think it is a net benefit towards UCLA, as I think they will do more with the gold. Or be able to do more with the gold. As their champions just kind of... just if a tanky member is tanky, they're still going to be able to be killed by a Lucian with Blade of the Ruin King and the Vel'Koz. If a Vel'Koz is going to be just destroying your health bar, or if a Lucian has Blade of the Ruin King, he is going to be shredding your health bar very quickly.
yeah.
And so that gold does a bit more on the side of UCLA, I feel. And also the summoner advantage, also for UCLA. Getting the Castio both sums out is really big. And look at this here. More proactive plays.
More proactive plays indeed. They got themselves Havoc. He's down under turret. And
Didn't even get ulti.
there. Yeah, didn't ult. I'm surprised he didn't ult when he was first getting dove, but...
Yeah. He might have thought that he just had to hold it and then wait for them to, commit and then immediately use it. So that way they wouldn't just bait him to ulti and then wait it out and then just take it and he had to have to leave. But that CC lock was very good with the Renekton stun into the Lee Sin ulti. Meant that he had no time to be able to press that R.
Yeah, and whatever the case may be, it is still a turret that is going to be very low, if not going down, in the next couple of waves, right? So, take stock of the game. It's at 10 minutes now. Gold lead right around 2,500 gold for the side of UCLA. And this is kind of reminiscent of the last early game, right? I think UCLA had a couple more kills advantage, right? It wasn't 2 kills advantage, it was like 3 or 4, but as it stands, right? What do you think they need to do in order to avoid the mistakes they had last time?
I really do think that UCLA just needs to make sure that they're making fights with numbers advantages, and they have been. Even if there's a tower there, they say we're 3v4 or 2v4 or we are 3v1, right? We are going to take these fights. We're going to make plays when you don't have the vision, you don't have the numbers. And with this, we're strong enough that we can do these kind of wacky plays under your tower. And as long as they keep finding stuff, not necessarily under tower, I don't think I want to see that trend continue. But if they keep on looking for plays like that, where if they can find somebody isolated and just run them down with their damage, before their other members can get there. This would be a much easier game for UCLA to win.
Yeah, and this is. I don't think this changes even on the current patch, right? It's an early game still meta, right? If you get a lead, it's very hard to stop the lead. It's very hard to, be a team that's behind and being proactive in getting that lead back.
Ooh, Urgot almost got his heart stopped.
He certainly was, feeling the pressure there, but you gotta wonder, right? Is it just because you want the turret, or
Hold
is
on,
it
Sejuani
really
might find
'cause
something
you want
here.
to commit? Top lane, Aatrox trying to combo in, but the flash is out and the Renekton is gone. The Lizard, he slithers away to live another day, but in the mid lane, look at the punish onto this turret. They already have 2 members there, and they're both trying to collapse with that Rift Herald. Oh, bot lane as well. The ultimate does not land onto the Lucian, so he, even though he doesn't get ulted, still has to back away. Turret will fall, but the Rift Herald's not going to get a second charge off.
Yeah, but remember, this is before 14 minutes, so that is not just a turret dying, but that is so much turret plating gold going over to the side of UCLA. Right now, 3k gold lead. They have just expanded that gold difference, and they look like they're in a good spot right now. As long as they get those core items done, the Ludens on the Vel'Koz, the Blade of the Ruined King on the Lucian, their power spike is going to be very, very large, and it's going to be hard for this side of KSU to deal with that.
Certainly, and as it stands, maybe they've overstayed their welcome. Take a look at that damage coming out. It is not something to sneeze at, and they've got more support, right? That is, after all, right, what Lucian's power is, right? He can just walk forwards, deal the damage, and you have to respect him. But because they're a team that needs a couple items, because it's, Cassiopeia, it's, Aatrox, these guys don't just instantly win off base damages, they aren't going to have the same kind of power that Lucian does, right? And so, maybe it comes back if KSU goes a bit longer.
That is possible. The scaling from KSU is not bad by any means. With the Cassio, with the side lane pressure that they have with the Aatrox Urgot, but at the same time, there's always going to be the Vel'Koz threat to blow up those members. Oh, but
The ultimate lands in UCLA. They're starting to get chased, but neither one of these is actually going to manifest into a long-term kill. Maybe the Braum will be the first victim, and it will be, in fact, Coach Kim takes out Kazuku and starts to look for maybe some more kills on this one. He goes towards the turret, and it will be dropping very shortly.
Yeah, the only problem with this turret in comparison to the others is that the other 2 towers taken earlier on were with
One was
plating.
mid lane, first off.
Yes, that is a mid tower, which is also very important to the map control, but also just the turret platings. That is, they missed out on that, so that's a lot of gold, just missed opportunity.
160 a plate, it's 4 or 5 plates. I mean, that's
adds up a lot.
Kill gold, maybe 2.
Definitely at least 1 kill gold unless there was shutdown. This Vel'Koz isn't though, but he might get whacked.
Yeah, speaking of getting whacked, both sides collapse in. Coach Kim for the free B, and the Calamari might taste a bit weird, but Urgot is a non-discriminatory eater. He's going to accept that, go straight to his pockets, and
yeah, Tom Kench wanted a bit of that too.
He did.
He's
and
definitely
he's
not discriminatory with eating.
That's for sure, right? He goes for souls
and his teammates
from a river. His teammates. Well, he kind of just licks his teammates and spits them back out, right? He takes bites out of the enemy, though.
Well, I mean, I feel like he wants to eat them, but he's got to practice some self-control. Kench is a smart man. When he his New Year skin, he's about that money too. It's not just about the gluttony.
Still, too, right? If he just eats everybody, he's not going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Tom Kench is an intellectual. I mean, you see that top hat.
It's a bowler.
Excuse me, I'm not as cultured. Some others here. Well, Tom Kench would know, as he is definitely a very
actually, I'm pretty sure you are as cultured, if I remember your profile picture. But
sophisticated.
God. Sophisticated hats. And a sophisticated dragon for a sophisticated man.
Sophisticated teleport by the Renekton, also being matched by Aatrox.
Yeah, double top laners in the bot lane. There is a split Cassiopeia, but they don't really want this fight, it looks like. And Sejuani ult might be what turns it around, but here comes the Vel'Koz, big amounts of damage. He does get knocked up by the charge, but with the Lee Sin actually not being pulled back in, they still have time. They've still got places to run to, and the Cassiopeia hasn't found a single kill. Finally brings down the Braum, but is on the run from the Lee Sin and has to continue to dodge out. The Lucian has found a kill for himself as well, and this is an Aatrox in a 1 versus 3. I'm not sure how much longer he wants to be here. He isn't either, so he flashes over the wall, gets out of there. 2 for 2 overall, unless they can land some fancy, Lee Sin dash kick, but there's just no wards up.
It does look like that's going to be the end. 3 for 3. However, the Lucian picked up some gold for himself. So did the Vel'Koz in that fight. The kills are where they want them. Yes, I believe the Urgot and the Cassio got kills in the last fight, so not bad in return either, but Vel'Koz getting another.
Yeah, this is a pretty important one, actually.
I mean,
That's
this Vel'Koz getting these kills is actually very important because we saw how much he did in that last team fight. And when they use the Sejuani ulti on another member like the Renekton there, and they don't have the Aatrox with flash or just the Aatrox in a position to dive on that Vel'Koz, we saw how much damage he can just get for free with that ultimate. And so that Vel'Koz really is kind of the priority target of, you need to deal with that. We can't just let him ulti us for free like that anymore.
We gotta punish it, You have to punish it, is the real outcome. And they do punish it eventually, but it seems a bit late,
Yeah,
and that's the real problem.
It
right?
wasn't even. It was very close to actually Vel'Koz picking off even more kills, as he was left basically at 75% HP even after they dove him, excuse me, and he was very close to picking off even more people with some Q snipes. So I'm a bit afraid of what's gonna happen now that he's getting more AP items, more Magic Pen, more damage.
Yeah, it's
a very scary position to be in.
It's
for
a very,
KSU.
very scary position to be in, right? If it goes wrong, right, and Vel'Koz goes down, that's a huge portion of their damage right now. The teamfight damage is all about his ultimate. It's all about the true damage stacking. But on the other side, if you just let him do that, he's gonna absolutely annihilate your team. You have resistances, you've got tanky members, a lot of strong players. True damage doesn't care about any of that. So both teams care a lot about the tentacles and where they fall.
Yeah, and it really is just, it's a double-edged sword, right? You have a super strong member like that. And he's super immobile too. So yes, he's going to be dealing a lot of damage, but he's also going to be so easy to be taken out. They do also have the Lucian though, so they have a decent amount of backup damage for sure. And the Lucian is also very good at shredding those tanks. So there is solutions, even if he does die, Lucian probably will be able to clean up if he's just left untouched as well. It really is about the execution of these fights though. If they can get access to the Vel'Koz before the fight starts, and as preferably without his cleanse available.
Oh, talk about that. Cleanse going down with the ultimate, but that was almost the catch they wanted. If he didn't have cleanse, they were going to 100% dismantle him.
Yeah, and now that the cleanse flash Vel'Koz is down, he is extremely vulnerable. He has to be super careful. He needs to make sure he's not going to get flashed on by anybody, which there are no flashes except Tahm Kench's on the enemy team, which flash Tahm Kench is only very good once he's gotten some stuff down, but he might be a little too far forward here again.
Quite possible, and with the Aatrox charging in, this is actually a little bit more dangerous than it first seemed, but it's not for the reasons you once thought. He is actually going to get stunned up in the middle of his ultimate, and with the Sejuani falling, that's a big piece of the front line of the KSU squad already eliminated off the table. UCLA are now free to take their full health bars, siege up, or, as it looks like, they're going to turn towards this outer turret and then go for the Baron.
Or they just wanted to get some wolf camp. I mean,
Maybe
I've
they
seen it
just want
before.
wolves, some barks. It happens. Sometimes you just want to stop and pet the dog. It's okay. Everybody has weaknesses, but definitely time to turn on the gas.
Yeah, they need to make some plays happen. Since Sejuani is dead, they could try to pressure for this tower. They still need to be careful though, because
Sedge up now.
again, that Vel'Koz is very important to this team composition, and he is very,
Still
very
flashed.
killable.
Sejuani now has flash very soon and ultimate very soon.
She also does have a stone plate, so she's going to be able to take that Vel'Koz damage a little bit easier next time. We'll have to see how effective it's going to be against, the tank shredding of the Vel'Koz Lucian. But it definitely will make sure that she isn't going to get melted as hard as she did in the last fight when she tried to dive into him.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, right? Even though he's that immobile, he still almost did get away. Actually, he managed to not die from that somehow. But if that happens again, things are going to be extremely bad. But here comes that ultimate, and it does land on the right target. The Vel'Koz is CC'd, but he is not dead. Far from it, in fact, as he turns and burns with the ultimate. He might be able to make this fight happen still, and it looks like that's going to be the case. The only one left is his Aatrox, and he's looking to dash over the wall, but nowhere, no how is he getting out of there. He goes down. 3 kills for 1. The Braum is the only thing the side of UCLA lost, and now the Baron seems free.
Yeah, and in that fight, Urgot wasn't available to be there, and again, this Vel'Koz, he just can't be chased down. He has too much peel with his front line. I mean, yes, they're not as tanky, but they still have enough CC. The Lee Sin disengaged with the kick. They have the Braum peel with the ulti and stuns and the shield. They have the Renekton who can, he can just stun them, which isn't that much on paper, but it's just enough that this Vel'Koz is super safe and will just ulti in the face of danger. Literally, in their face. Ultimate. It's happened like 3 times this game.
Yeah, and that's kind of just how it's been, right? They just don't have the damage, right? They have strong champions. They don't have the damage. They don't have a way to kill these guys. They don't have a way to finish off the Vel'Koz. And you compare that to Vel'Koz, Lucian, Lee Sin, right? Renekton, all extremely damage-heavy champions. They've got so many ways to kill you, so many ways to bring you down. And unlike, the Aatrox or the Urgot, they're not really combo-based, right? They just throw the damage out, and you kind of either deal with it or you don't. So, in that sense, it seems like UCLA have the right composition for this meta. And again, maybe it's just a feeling, but it's almost like KSU are a bit reactive instead of proactive.
It definitely feels much more like that this game compared to last game. KSU was looking for so many more players last game, but I think due to the style of these compositions, they do find an ultimate, but is it the one they want?
It's on Braum. It's a free kill, but is it enough? They need to get more than just a Braum kill. This might be it. Lucian against Urgot is going to be an incredibly difficult fight, but not when you have the AP damage coming in from the Vel'Koz, the Lee Sin to back him up. The Aatrox trying his hand at this, but there are so many members waiting in line, and there's only so many autographs they can give out. UCLA are starting to clean up the rest of the table, and there's nobody left alive. The Cassiopeia stunned up as well. Even though she gets the Petrifying Gaze off, she will fall to the Lee Sin kick, the Quadra kill onto him, and this should be the beginning of the end. Death timers are short, but they're not that short. This will be an inhibitor at the very least, probably a Nexus turret, and they're going to try to push for the end.
Yeah, I'd say probably a Nexus. The death timers are just kicking in here, and Urgot's up in 10 seconds, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He will respawn before the game is over, but not soon enough.
He's the only one, though. Yeah, the rest of these guys are all going to be dead when this game ends, and that's going to be it. That's going to be a quick 2-0. UCLA, they know exactly how to come and play their game. They've done it. 2-0 victory over KSU. The second game, 25 minutes in.
Yeah, game 1, very close, but it really did feel like UCLA was a little bit shaky, and then RSU, they seemed solid in game 1, but I guess the defeat just kind of got to them. They destabilized a little bit, and UCLA, it felt like once they kind of figured things out, they got a little swift kick between games. They just hit that go button. They hit the gas, and they came in. They executed well. Tiny few kills given in the second game, but nothing that was really consequential by any means. And so overall, very good game by them, and very good set.
Yeah, Kennesaw State, they did make it to the round of 32, but they will not proceed further. They do fall. Congratulations to them for making it this far. But UCLA are on to the round of 16, right? That was a very convincing game number 2. Both of the series we casted from this round of 32 have been actually quite convincing in the second game. So in that sense, I would say that the teams are definitely looking stronger, but with even stronger opponents to face, maybe things are going to change.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how these teams are going to start stacking up against each other, especially once we start progressing down. Right now, it's some pretty solid teams, but soon it's going to be the cream of the crop.
Yeah, creme de la creme. as it were. But that will be doing it for us for League of Legends tonight here on CSL, bringing you the Winter Invitational round of 32. However, and this is a big however, if you're interested in more games, we've got some CSGO coming up. It's going to be right after this, or maybe actually a bit delayed. Our series did end quite early tonight, so keep your eyes on this channel if you're interested in CSGO from CSL. And if you want to watch more League of Legends action, just drop us a follow here. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter, talking about the casters ourselves. There's things down there if you want to do that. But other than that, that will do it for us for tonight. Thank you very much for watching our broadcast of the round of 32. I have been Zeta, and my partner has been LOL Meow and Cat. And once again, we thank you and hope that you'll stick around for that CSGO action.